what about artists supporting artists? There seems to be a competitiveness there. And you just mentioned a perfect example of that. You don't know where to go. Well, there's other people in your position that might know where to go. But they're not necessarily sharing that information. Right. Same goes with the bands. It's very easy. Bon Jovi has 15 million fans on Facebook, but he's not promoting anybody else's music but his. I mean, how great would that be if everybody were able to come together and help each other out? Can you touch on that?
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about the concept of MusicCon is the fact that it's a support for each other. I'm here to support Jerry. Jerry's here to support me, and other artists and musicians. When I built this studio, it really was for me to produce my own music. So it never really was intended to be an outside studio for other people. But I had a couple friends come to me and say, "Hey, can you help me on some songs?" And I did, and they turned out great. And these guys go, you ought to just open this up to the public. So we kind of stripped the thing back to the bare rafters and built it from the ground up as a state-of-the-art recording studio, so that it would best represent the musician when he came in and recorded his stuff. But my main goal, always from day one, was my dream for this place was a creative room where people would come and do their music as a music community. Then we'd go out and promote that, we'd play it, we'd support it. I am constantly posting friends' links on my Facebook page of music and clips and whatever I can do, whether it's stuff that Jerry's done or stuff that I've done with Chip Mesner or whoever is, working with me, or that I just know. They don't have to record with me. That is not a criteria for me to promote you. If you're a musician and I love what you do, I'm going to support you in any way I can. If it's put your links on a web page, or I come to your concerts, or I put a poster up in my place, or I tell my friends via networking, or however we do it, I think we have to kind of be others-centered. It's a very biblical thing, whether people realize it is or not. But God honors you when you take care of the other guy more than you take care of yourself. There's an eternal benefit to that. I mean, emotionally, physically, mentally, you feel good. You feel better. And that's not by accident. God built that into your DNA, whether you realize it or not. You don't even have to know that, but He did. And when you do something good for other people, particularly if it's another musician that you really like, you're going to feel better, And when that guy succeeds, you feel good about it. It's not a competition. They're not taking your job away. They're supporting and making the industry stronger, so now that you've got a place to go when you're ready to go out and play. For me, I can't possibly monopolize the industry. I don't have enough material to play for everybody all the time. I know that. I'm one individual. One of my biggest heroes is Paul McCartney. I love Paul McCartney. And even with his legacy of success, he would tell you he could not do this all by himself. In fact, he is probably the most highly outspoken proponent of live music and being with other musicians, because Paul promotes the daylights out of his friends in his music. So take a sign from your heroes. In my case, Paul McCartney, Chet Atkins, those kind of people. Chet Atkins, one of the greatest guitarists who have ever lived. Now, granted, for those of you that aren't country fans, yes, Chet played primarily country, but trust me, Chet could play anything he wanted to play. He was a virtuoso guitarist. But Chet promoted everybody. Everly Brothers, Elvis Presley, the Righteous Brothers. I mean, on and on and on. I mean, the list of people that he put on the map musically, most of those people, if you asked them, wouldn't even know who Chet Atkins was. But he had high impact because he valued other people as musicians and promoted them. So I think we need to say, hey, Jerry's got a great band. I'm going to go out and support Jerry because I love him, love his music, I love what he's doing, and I don't want him to quit doing it. And but I know when I do that, because of our friendship, if I go out, he's going to be there to support me. We need to cop that attitude, because once you do and you start saying, I'm not going to throw the towel in, I am going to be there for music at large, for my friends, and for the venues that support live music. Go participate in being there. If you know your band is playing at Francesco's or wherever, go support them. Don't sit at home and go, well, maybe we should. No, yes, you should. It shouldn't even be something you have to think about. Just do it. Support the players. Be there for one another. This music industry will start to grow and turn back into what it should be, which is an industry for the musicians, for the people, and for all of us.
Absolutely. One thing that we did touch on a few times is the bands themselves and the, for lack of a better word, characters that they portray. The 80s is a great example, but you saw a lot of this in the 70s with the glam rockers, everybody from David Bowie to Kiss, and then the 80s hair metal, of course. There were many characters that we saw in our videos and unique vocals that you hear on the radio and things like that. But there was a whole lot of character behind all of that. It seems like fans, in particular, look upon that differently now. Like they've stripped their idols away somehow, but everybody wants to be a rock star when they're growing up, right? I mean, that's what all my friends, that was like the coolest thing ever. But now that we've taken the rock star image away, what's left? We've had some conversations on this. You want to touch on that?
Well, as a performer, I've been playing, for a long, long time. And I can't remember a single incident sometimes I'll play a dozen times a week. Every single time I strap on a guitar to play for the public, it's like a different persona takes over. While it may not always be evident, there's a different person playing the guitar and performing than just sits here and talks to you. Because I do put on sort of a performer's clothing, so to speak, in attitude, in my demeanor when I play. I try to physically look like I'm there to play music for you, not showed up in my cutoffs and a tank top and, just haphazardly picked up a guitar and started playing. Now, is there anything wrong with that? I've done some block parties and things where, the dress was real casual, so you end up... But my attitude was still, I'm a performer. I'm performing now. But most of the time, I will adapt a sense of personality as a guitarist that's different than Dwayne Barker that's sitting in the chair just talking to you. And sometimes I don't know how I do that or even what brought it about, because I've been doing it my whole life. But I think there's a certain deal of respect and admiration that I have for people that have sort of kept that persona. When we were talking off camera about Kiss, Quiet Riot, Twisted Sister, prime example, Twisted Sister. JJ, definitely looked way different on stage than he does when you see him, today. But that's what you went to see. The kind of bizarre looking guy with a, spiky blonde hair.
There used to be a show.
Yeah, it was a show. And I think that's what I love. I want to see a show. Now these days, my venue is church a lot. You know what? I still put on a show. People that come to see me play at church know that Dwayne Barker's in the room because I put on a show. My guitar playing puts on a show. Now that's not by accident. I fully intend on doing that when I get there. And people say, well, you're at church. God gets a kick out of it. I mean, I'm doing it for him, so he loves it. I mean, who do I want to play better for than God? So to me, that attitude has never changed or diminished because I know it's important. God asked us to do our best, to bring our best, bring our A game. I bring my A game every single time I put on a guitar. I think musicians need to think about that part of it. Some of them are good players, but they don't bring an A game when it comes to performance. They need to think about almost a little bit of a secondary character. You know, if you want to call multiple personalities, you do have a different personality as a musician
And
than a backer.
just to put it in to perspective, so that everyone can kind of feel what you're saying. Not everybody's a Christian these days, of
Right,
course. But if they took on that attitude of that they were playing for God,
right,
or
right,
a God, or something, if they just took that attitude, like whether there's 5 people in the room or 1,000 people in
right,
the room, their performance is going to shine
right.
more. Period.
Well, and that's, I always think about it, obviously these days, it is God, but it wasn't always. And so in those early days, you don't know if you got a president, the president sitting in the room, or a congressman or some important person that you think, man, I just got to impress the daylights out of them. And it's not that you just do it for that reason, but once you start doing it regularly, your attitude gets a little bit like strutting a little bit. Beyonce, great singer, phenomenal singer. What's great about her? Her show. She rocks the show. Why? Because she gets up there to perform for you. Um, Same thing with a Taylor Swift or something. People say, well, they're kind of the bubblegum, teen rock. I said, she's a musician first. I've seen the videos. I know where she comes from. I know what she does. But when she gets up there, she performs for the people. Um, and I think it's important. People want somebody to kind of look up to. We all want. We can have heroes in the music world like mine, with Paul McCartney and Chet Atkins and Eric Johnson and Joe Bonamassa. Well, I'm a lot older than Joe Bonamassa. He's one of my younger heroes. It was just kind of funny. But Joe paid his dues at 12 years old, being discovered by B.B. King, and as already a prodigy child wonder guitar player, he's never lost his passion to put on the show, to be there for the fans, and to give them everything that they want and more. You never walk out of there saying, man, I wish he would have done more, because you just feel overwhelmed by what he's given you, because he did bring the show. And if you're playing at Mary's Market, doing a little jazz gig, or you're playing at the Newport Jazz Festival, which I got to do for 114,000 people, you bring the show. You just do it. And when you do that, you feel gratified, first of all, because I think you feel like you've done something a little exceptionally over the top from what everybody else tries to do, whether you do it or not. But the fans will appreciate it, because they're going to go, man, that guy poured his heart out for me to do this gig. Prime example, Bruce Springsteen. I'm not a monster Springsteen fan, but I love to watch him. Oh my God, is this guy passionate about performing? He pours his heart out on the stage for his audience. And to me, that gets my respect. And I would go see him at a show. Even though his music maybe not be my first pick, I would love him because of what he does and what he brings to the game.
Probably the sweatiest performer ever.
Oh my God.
So is it safe to say, based off of your perspective there, what you just said, that if you're a musician and you're playing a bar or a club locally, and you're just another guy in the room, you look around and you look just like the guy sitting at the bar, you're probably always going to be just another guy in the room.
Right.
You really, when you take that stage, you got to respect it and put on a show. And like you said, whether it's 5 people or a million, pour your heart into it, and maybe even look the part a little bit.
Right.
You know that.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone to the venues where I can immediately say, well, that guy's got to be in the band, you know?
Yeah.
Because even in the room, he brings on a sense of persona that's, okay, you know he's getting ready to go up there and play or do something exceptionally different than everybody else in this room. And that'll be the guy probably at the end of the night, I'll go up and shake his hand and say, man, what a show. Because that guy came ready to do his gig, you know? Now, clothes don't always make it, but I think they do have, is as much as using the right gear, right guitar, the right amp. I think it's part of the package, you know? I I love and value this so much, the craft of music, that I don't want to treat it the same as if I'm just going to the park to toss a frisbee. I want it to be different. I want it to be exceptional. And I want the tools the things that I use to create it to be as uniquely different as the craft itself.
Promotion.
Again, this is Dwayne Barker, Barker Recording Studio, Barker Guitars. Thanks for listening, and go music out.
Thanks, Dwayne.